Good evening, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first meeting of council for 2022. It is also the inaugural meeting of this council term following the December local government elections. We have 5 new councillors, and I take this opportunity to welcome councillors Simon Lennon, Alec Taylor, Greg Taylor, Barbara Ward and Kim Wheatley to council for the first time. I also welcome back our 5 returning councillors, namely Christine Kay, Sam Nye, Jeff Pettit, Martin Smith and Cedric Spencer. On behalf of council, I recognise the traditional custodians of the land and pay tribute to elders past, present and emerging. I would like to outline a few points regarding this evening's proceedings. Tonight's meeting is a hybrid, with some participants physically in chambers and others joining remotely. This has been necessary as COVID has impacted both councillors and senior staff. The meeting will be live streamed on the council website at www.krg.nsw.gov.au/live stream. Only councillors and council staff will be shown on camera. The webcast of the meeting is available on council's website. The webcast will cease if council goes into confidential session, where the public and press are excluded, pursuant to Section 10 of the Local Government Act. Council meetings remain open to the public as observers, but in line with the Code of Meeting Practice, councillors will now address the council through the monthly public forums and not at council meetings. For more information about addressing council, please visit our website at www.krg.nsw.gov.au. All present tonight must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the council's code of conduct, or making other potentially defamatory statements. Councillors and staff must declare and manage any conflicts of interest that they have in relation to any item that is the subject of business on the agenda this evening. As the Mayor or Deputy Mayor have not yet been elected, I will chair the meeting for 2 items of business, namely GB1, Oath/Affirmation of Office by Councillors, and GB2, Election of Mayor for the January 2022 to September 2023 mayoral term. Following election of the Mayor, the election of Deputy Mayor GB3 may be conducted. Prior to dealing with general business items, we will first address apologies, declarations of interest, documents circulated to councillors, reports to be considered in closed session, and minutes of the meeting held on 16 November 2021. So starting with apologies, councillors, are there any apologies? From my reckoning, all councillors are present, so that is nil, as are staff. Do any councillors have any declarations of interest to declare?
No declaration.
There are none, nor are there any from the staff. Documents circulated to council, there is one, a memo from the Manager Governance and Corporate Strategy of today's date, which relates to GB4 and GB5. There are no confidential reports to be considered this evening. And I now ask for confirmation of minutes from the meeting held on 16 November 2021, minutes numbered 207 to 254. It's moved Councillor Spencer, the seconder Councillor Pettit. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Councillors, we move to GB1, Oath/Affirmation of Office by Councillors, noting the recommendation that Council receive and note this report, and all councillors now take the Oath/Affirmation. Can I have someone move that recommendation? Councillor Spencer, seconded Councillor Kay. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. In accordance with Section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993, all elected councillors must take an oath of office or make an affirmation of office at or before the first meeting of council. A councillor who fails, without reasonable excuse, to take the oath of office or make an affirmation of the office in accordance with the Act is not entitled to attend a meeting as a councillor until the councillor has taken the oath or made the affirmation. I will now ask each councillor in turn to stand and take an oath of office or make an affirmation of office noting that Mr Taylor has a copy of the Bible should individuals require it. We will go in alphabetical order in wards, so I will start with Commonara Ward, Councillor Jeff Pettit.
Thank you, General. Thank you, General Manager. I'll do the oath. Thank you very much. I, Jeffrey Pettit, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Kuringai local government area and the Kuringai Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Pettit. Councillor Greg Taylor.
I'll do the affirmation. I, Greg Taylor, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duty of the office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Kuringai local government area and Kuringai Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act in the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Lennon.
I, Simon Lennon, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Kuringai local government area and the Kuringai Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Lennon. Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, General Manager. I'll do the oath. I, Barbara Ward, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of Councillor in the best interest of the people of Kuringai local government area and Kuringai Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions invested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 and any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Sam Nye.
Thank you. I will take the oath. Bible. I, Sam Nye, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of Kuringai local government area and the Kuringai Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Nye. Councillor Alec Taylor.
I will take the affirmation. I, Alec Taylor, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Kuringai local government area and the Kuringai Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Christine Kay.
Okay, I'm going to do the affirmation. So I, Christine Kay, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of Councillor in the best interest of the people of Kuringai local government area and the Kuringai Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authority and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Kay. Councillor Martin Smith.
I will be taking the affirmation. I, Martin Smith, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of Kuringai local government area and the Kuringai Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Cedric Spencer.
May I have the oath, please? The book. Thank you. I, Cedric Spencer, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of Kuringai local government area and the Kuringai Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best interests of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Spencer. Councillor Kim Wheatley.
Thank you, General Manager. I'll be taking the oath. I, Kim Wheatley, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the Kuringai local government area and the Kuringai Council, and I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 and any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Wheatley. On that basis, I would ask staff to record in the minutes that all councillors took an oath of office or made an affirmation of office at this meeting in accordance with section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993. Councillors, turning to GB 2, election of Mayor for the January 2022 to September 2023 mayoral term. As General Manager, I am the returning officer for the election of Mayor for the January 2022 to September 2023 mayoral term. I seek a motion as to the method of voting, noting that as some councillors are attending remotely, the only possible method is open voting, i.e. a show of hands. Can I have someone move that way, please? Councillor Spencer, seconded Councillor Greg Taylor. Any opposition? All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. I now call for nominations for Mayor of Kuringai. In accordance with Schedule 7 of the regulations, councillors must produce written nominations authorised by a minimum of 2 councillors and by the candidate. At this point in time, I've received the following nominations for position of Mayor. Councillor Spencer, duly nominated by Councillors Nye and Kay and accepted by Councillor Spencer. Councillor Pettit, nominated by Councillors Ward and Wheatley and duly accepted by Councillor Pettit. I now call for further written nominations. There being none, I declare nominations for the position of Mayor to be closed. As there is more than one candidate, an election will be necessary. Are there any candidates who wish to withdraw their nomination at this point in time? Councillor Pettit or Councillor Spencer? There are none. In that case, I will conduct the election. The method of voting for the position of Mayor will be by show of hands. I will call a vote for each candidate in alphabetical order, so that will be Pettit followed by Spencer. Each councillor is entitled to vote for only one candidate in each round of voting. As there are 2 candidates, the candidate with the highest number of votes will be elected. In the event that equal votes are obtained for both candidates, I will be required to draw lots in accordance with Clause 12 of the regulations and will call for scrutineers to oversee that process. In this situation, the candidate who is drawn by lot will be declared Mayor of Kuringai. So we will start with Councillor Pettit. Would those councillors who wish to vote for Councillor Pettit please raise your hand? So that is Councillors Lennon, Smith, Pettit, G. Taylor, Ward, A. Taylor, Wheatley. 7 votes. Would those councillors who wish to vote for Councillor Spencer please raise your hand? That is Councillors Kay, Spencer and Nye, 3 votes. Councillor Pettit therefore has the highest number of votes, and I declare Councillor Pettit duly elected as Mayor of Kuringai Council. Of course you can. Now, Mayor Pettit, at this juncture, would you like to resume the chair and do the election for the deputy, or would you like me to keep going? Thank you. Councillors, I now move to GB3, election of deputy mayor for the current term. And I seek two motions. The first is a motion as to the term of office for the deputy mayor, the length of term. Could someone move a motion, please? Councillor Ward.
Sorry, General Manager. So I move the motion for the deputy mayor for the term as stated. Sorry. General Manager, I move the motion as stated for deputy mayor for January 2022 to September 2023.
Okay, so you're moving that term coincides with the mayoral term, is that correct?
Correct.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor A. Taylor. Is there any opposition to that? There being none, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. I now seek a motion as to the method of voting, noting, as with the election of the mayor, that the only possible method of voting is open voting, i.e. show of hands. Could someone move that way? Councillor Wheatley, seconded Councillor Kay. Is there any opposition? There being none, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? That is unanimous. I now call for nominations for Deputy Mayor of Kuringai Council. In accordance with Schedule 7 of the regulations, councillors must produce written nominations authorised by a minimum of 2 councillors and by the candidate themselves. At this point in time, I have received the following nominations for position of Deputy Mayor. Councillor Kay, nominated by Councillors Nye and Spencer and duly accepted by Councillor Kay. Councillor Ward, nominated by Councillors Pettit and A. Taylor and duly accepted by Councillor Ward. I now call for further written nominations. There being none, I declare nominations for the position of Deputy Mayor to be closed, and as there is more than one candidate, an election will be necessary. Councillors Kay and Ward, do either of you wish to withdraw your nomination at this point in time? No, that being the case, I will conduct the election. The method of voting for the position of Deputy Mayor will be by show of hands, and I will call a vote for each candidate in alphabetical order, and that will be Kay followed by Ward. As each councillor is entitled to vote for only one candidate in each round of voting. As there are 2 candidates, the candidate with the highest number of votes will be elected, and in the event that equal votes are obtained for both candidates, I will be required to draw a lot in accordance with Clause 12 of the regulations and will call for scrutineers. In this situation, the candidate who is drawn by lot will be declared Deputy Mayor of Kuringai Council. Councillors, those councillors who wish to vote for Councillor Kay for Deputy Mayor, please raise your hand. That is Councillors Nye, Kay and Spencer. Councillors, those councillors who wish to vote for Councillor Ward to be Deputy Mayor, please raise your hand. That is Councillors Lennon, Smith, Pettit, G. Taylor, Ward, A. Taylor, Wheatley. 7 votes, that is a majority, and I'm happy to declare Councillor Ward duly elected as Deputy Mayor of Kuringai Council. Mr Mayor, at this juncture you have no choice but to assume chairing of the meeting.
Thank you very much, General Manager. But before we move on to GB4, if you let me indulge just for a moment, I would like to acknowledge Councillor Spencer and Councillor Kay for putting their names forward. I would also like to acknowledge the service and duties of our previous Mayor, Councillor Spencer, and Deputy Mayor, Councillor Nye. Thank you for your efforts. That brings us to GB4, Councillors, which is the Advisory and Reference Committees. The first committee we have is the Heritage Reference Committee.
Sorry, can I withdraw GB4? I've got an amendment.
That's withdrawn.
Or I can do it now, it's up to you.
Oh, I'm sorry, point of order.
You probably need.
It's not a withdrawal because it's not, I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah, it's not actually withdrawal. You actually have to make an amendment.
Okay.
Councillor Kay.
So that will be the motion then, it's not an amendment.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to do it so much. So, can I get you, Director Marshall, to put that up on the screen? I think I've been sitting down for too long.
Councillors, I'll just give you time to read through that and digest what Councillor Kay has put up.
I'm sorry, Mayor, could you ask them to make it bigger?
It's a little bit difficult for your staff, if you could make that a little bit larger for Councillor Spencer, where his position's a little bit hard to read.
I've just got to make a comment to Councillor Kay.
General Manager?
Councillors, just to Councillor Cade, to make the recommendation complete, looking at page 72 of the business paper, I think we also need to include the former Part A, which is confirm the continuation of all advisory reference committees, because I think that's your intent.
Oh, okay, yep.
Also, Part B, extend non-councillor membership of advisory reference committees as required until 30 June 2022. And the next one being adopt the revised Council Advisory Reference Committee guidelines, including the changes to the terms of reference as per attachment A1. You happy with?
So we've got, yeah, that
Yep.
additional councillor membership change with that, no, okay, yep, that's fine.
We'll just let staff put that up.
Councillors, there's one remaining item that you need to decide before we start, and that's the method of electing individuals to committees. So the report before you involves an election process exactly which replicates the election of the Mayor and Deputy Mayor. If you're happy with that, that's how we propose to do it. If not, someone needs to bring forth an alternate method of appointing members.
Sorry, point of order?
Point of order, Councillor Spencer.
General question for the General Manager. So do we second this motion first and then and include this method of voting as well in the motion, or?
My advice would be that the method of voting should be in the motion as well before we commence appointing individuals.
So may I second the motion then?
Yes, seconded, Councillor Spencer.
So perhaps the wording could be, for an additional point, just to make it complete, that council make appointments to council advisory stroke reference committees for the 2022-23 mayoral term by the election procedure set out in this report. Is the mover and seconder happy with that?
Yes, yes, I'm happy with
Councillor
that. Thank
Sidgwick?
you.
Yep. Please.
Councillors, I'll get you to vote on this entire recommendation, then we'll head off into the individual committees. So all those in favour?
Excuse me, Mr Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Smith.
I currently can't see that Word document from where I'm viewing it from at the moment.
Okay, we'll get that fixed up for you, Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Thank you.
All good now? All councillors can see that via Zoom? I take that as yes. All right then, so all those in favour of the motion as per the screen? That is unanimous. Councillors, we move on to the Heritage Reference Committee, of which there are 2 representatives, the first one being the chairperson. So I call for nominations for the chair of the Heritage Reference Committee. Councillor Kay.
I'm nominating Councillor Simon Lennon for that position.
So we have a nomination from Councillor Simon Lennon. Do we have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Smith. Do I have any other nominations for chair of the Heritage Reference Committee? There being no further nominations for the chair of the Heritage Reference Committee, Councillor Lennon duly elected.
Thank you.
We now move on to the deputy of the Heritage Reference Committee, and I call for nominations.
I nominate Kim Wheatley.
Councillor.
I beg your pardon, Councillor Kim Wheatley.
Yes. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Wheatley?
I second that.
Seconded, Councillor Alec Taylor. Are there any further nominations for Deputy Chair? There being no further nominations, I declare Councillor Wheatley Deputy Chair of the Heritage Reference Committee. Next committee is the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee, of which we have 2 councillor representatives, neither of which are a chair and deputy chair. So these are 2 councillor representatives. So I call for nominations.
Can I nominate, it's for 2 positions, can I nominate 2 people, or do you want me to just do it one at a time?
One at a time, Councillor Kay,
Okay.
please.
All right, so the first one will be Councillor Sam Nye.
So we have a nomination for Councillor Sam Nye. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it, Mr Mayor.
Seconded, Councillor Ward. Any further nominations for the first position? There being none, we declare Councillor Sam Nye as the first councillor representative on the committee. We move on to the second position of the Audit and Risk Committee. Call for nominations of that second position. Councillor Kay.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Barbara Ward.
We have a nomination for Councillor Ward. Do I have a seconder?
I'd like to second that.
Councillor Alec Taylor. I call for any further nominations. There being none, I declare Councillor Barbara Ward the second councillor representative on the Audit and Risk Committee. Councillors, we move on to the Flood Risk Management Committee, of which there are two positions, the first being the chair of this particular committee, and I call for nominations. Councillor Kay.
Feels like it's me. I'm nominating Councillor Barbara Ward for that chair position, please.
So I have a nomination for Councillor Ward. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Spencer. Call for any further nominations for the chair. There being none, Councillor Ward, duly elected chair of that committee, of the Flood Risk Management Committee. Second position is the deputy chair of the Flood Risk Management Committee, and I call for nominations.
I nominate Greg Taylor, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Ward.
Sorry. I nominate Councillor Greg Taylor, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Greg Taylor has been nominated. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Alec Taylor, thank you. Are there any further nominations for deputy chair? No, there are none. Councillor Greg Taylor, elected to deputy chair. Well done. We move to the Kuringai Traffic Committee. Again, two positions, one being the chair and one being the alternate or deputy chair. I call for nominations for the chair of the Traffic Committee.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Spencer.
Thank you, Councillor Kay. I'm quite happy to second Councillor Spencer as well too. Any further nominations for chair of the Traffic Committee? There being none, Councillor Spencer, duly elected chair of the Traffic Committee. We move on to the deputy chair or / alternate for the Traffic Committee and call for nominations. Councillor Kay.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Barbara Ward for that position. Thank you.
We have a nomination for Councillor Ward. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Alec Taylor. Is there any further nominations?
Mr Mayor, I would like to nominate myself as deputy on that traffic.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. I'll call for a seconder for Councillor Smith. Councillor Ward, you're seconding Councillor Smith. So we have two nominations, General Manager.
Mr Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Councillor Ward.
I withdraw my nomination.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. That leaves us with one nomination, being Councillor Smith. Yep. Okay. Yes. Done. Thank you, Councillor Smith. It's very hard with the mask at times.
Sorry, I thought you were asking for a second.
No, that's all right. So therefore, with one nomination, Councillor Smith elected to the particular position. We then move on to the Marion Street Theatre Reference Committee, of which two positions. We have the Mayor as the chairperson and one councillor as deputy chairperson. So,
Point of order.
yes.
There's only one position.
Yeah. As the deputy chair.
There are two positions, but the mayor's automatically on it, so we're only looking for the deputy chair's position.
Unless I decide.
I have a nomination.
No. I'm quite happy to be chair of that, so then we just move on to the secondary position. Putting it out there, councillors. So, as the deputy chairperson, I call for a nomination of the Marion Street Theatre Reference. Councillor Kay, you appear to have your light on again.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Simon Lennon for that position, please.
Thank you, Councillor Kay. Councillor Lennon has been nominated. Do I have a seconder for him?
I second them, Mr Mayor.
Seconded, Councillor Smith. Are there any further nominations?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Greg Taylor.
Councillor Greg Taylor has been nominated. And seconded, Councillor Wheatley. Do both those people that have been nominated, do they wish to stand for that position?
Excuse me, Mr Mayor.
Yes.
May I withdraw my candidacy?
Thank you, Councillor Lennon. That leaves one nomination, which is Councillor Greg Taylor. There being no further nominations, I declare Councillor Greg Taylor elected to that position. Next committee is the Status of Women Advisory Committee, where we have 2 councillors to be elected, one being the chair and one being the deputy chair. So I seek nominations for the chair of this particular committee. Councillor Ward.
Mr Mayor.
Oh, sorry, I can't see the screen, so if you guys can see it. Councillor Nye.
I move that Councillor Kay be the first representative.
Thank you, Councillor Nye. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Spencer?
I was on my feet, Mr Mayor.
That's all right. Is there any further nominations for the position of chair? There being none, Councillor Kay duly elected. Thank you. We move to the deputy chair of this particular committee. Call for nominations. Councillor Kay.
I'm nominating Councillor Barbara Ward for this position.
Thank you. Councillor Ward's been nominated. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Greg Taylor. Thank you very much. Are there any further nominations? There being none, Councillor Ward duly elected. Move on to the Sustainable Recreation Advisory Group. Chair and Deputy Chair.
Yeah, so this is the one, Mr Mayor, that was amended by Councillor Kay. So we're now looking for a chair and deputy chair for this.
So in the same sequence as the other reference committees, so I call for nominations of the chair. Councillor Kay.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Greg Taylor for this position.
Thank you, Councillor Kay. Do I have a seconder for Councillor? Seconder, Councillor Alec Taylor. Are there any further nominations for this position? There being none, Councillor Taylor, Greg Taylor, duly elected. We move on to the deputy chair of this particular committee, Councillor Kay, once again.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Alec Taylor for this.
Thank you, Councillor Kay. Is there a seconder for Councillor Greg Taylor, seconding that? Is there any further nominations?
Mr Mayor, I would like to nominate Mayor Pettit for this position.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. However, I will graciously decline your nomination. Are there any further nominations? There being no further nominations, we have that person duly elected. Yes. Councillors, we move on to GB5. We also need to insert the words for the method of voting within the motion. So I need a motion for GB5.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, are you moving that motion? I'll second it.
So let's move Councillor Spencer and seconded Councillor Pettit. And we'll just wait till staff put that up on the board for you all. It's all good, councillors. Everybody's read that. Everybody can see it this time. Excellent. Let's move on. So we've had that moved. Councillor Spencer, seconded by myself. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Let's move through the committees. The first one is NESROC, the Northern Sydney Regional Organisation of Councils. So the first position is Mayor, which we don't need to vote on. The first position is Delegate. So I call for nominations for the Delegate to NESROC. Councillor Kay.
I'd like to nominate for the delegate Councillor Sam Nye.
We have nominations for Councillor Nye. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Spencer. Do I have any further nominations for Delegate? Councillor Greg Taylor.
I'd like to nominate Barbara Ward for the delegate
We're
position.
nominating Councillor Ward. Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Ward? Councillor Alec Taylor is seconder. Are there any further nominations for Delegate?
Mr Mayor, I'd like to nominate myself.
Thank you, Councillor Smith, and I'm happy to second your nomination. Are there any further nominations? We currently have 3. Of those 3 nominees, are you all prepared to accept your nomination?
Mr Mayor, I'd like
Yes.
to withdraw.
Councillor Ward has withdrawn her nomination. We are down to 2. General Manager?
So, Mr Mayor, we'll need an election, so a show of hands in alphabetical order. So it'll be first those people for Councillor Nye, followed by those for Councillor Smith.
Thank you, General Manager. So all those in favour of Councillor Nye, please raise your hands. We have Councillors Greg Taylor, Councillors Barbara Ward, Councillors Alec Taylor, Councillor Kay, Councillor Spencer, Councillor Nye. And all those in favour of Councillor Smith, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Pettit and Councillor Smith. The votes being 7-3. Councillor Nye is elected.
I'm sorry, Mr Mayor, may I just record that my vote was for Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Councillor. And the screen's a little bit hard, so that makes it 6-4. Thank you. So we now move on to the first alternate and call for nominations. Councillor Kay.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Alec Taylor for that position.
We have a nomination for Councillor Alec Taylor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Greg Taylor. Do I have any further nominations for the first delegate, first alternate?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Martin Smith.
We have a nomination for Councillor Smith. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Ward. Councillors, we have 2 nominations. Do both of you, those nominees, wish to stand?
I'd like to withdraw my nomination.
Thank you, Councillor Alec Taylor, who has withdrawn his nominations. That leaves 1. Councillor Smith, duly elected as first alternate. We move on. We move on to the second alternate and call for nominations.
I nominate,
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Yes.
sorry, Mayor Pettit, I would like to nominate Alec Taylor.
Councillor Alec Taylor has been nominated. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Ward. Thank you. Are there any further nominations? There being
Nominate myself, thank you.
Councillor Kay, nominating yourself. Why not, indeed. Now, is there a seconder for Councillor Kay, which is Councillor Spencer? Thank you very much. Are there any further nominations as the second alternate? There being no further nominations, General Manager, we have another vote.
So there'll be an election, Mr Mayor. It'll be those for supporting Councillor Kay first, followed by Councillor Taylor.
All those in favour of Councillor Kay, please raise your hands. That'd be Councillor Kay, Councillor Spencer, Councillor Nye. All those in favour of Councillor Taylor, Councillor Greg Taylor, Councillor Ward, Councillor Alec Taylor, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Pettit and Councillor Smith. The vote being 3-7, Councillor Taylor duly elected. We move on to the Kuringai Local Area Command, Lindfield to North Sydney. We have the Mayor or one delegate. However, I'm not choosing to be on this particular one, so I'm calling for a delegate. So I call for nominations for a delegate to the Lindfield North Sydney Kuringai LAC.
Mr Mayor, I nominate Councillor Wheatley.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Wheatley's been nominated, seconded. Is there a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Kay. Any further nominations? There being none, Councillor...
I'd like to nominate Councillor Alec Taylor for Lindfield to North Sydney.
Thank you, Councillor Nye. Is there a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Greg Taylor. We currently have 2 nominations. Do either of you, of the nominees, wish to decline or...
I wish to withdraw my nomination.
Thank you, Councillor Alec Taylor. Therefore, there being one nominee, Councillor Wheatley, duly elected. We then move on to the Kuringai LAC, Lindfield to Brooklyn. Again, it's Mayor or one delegate. I'm choosing not to stand, so I'm seeking a nomination for one delegate. Councillor Ward.
Mr Mayor, I nominate Alec Taylor.
Councillor Alec Taylor has been nominated. Is there a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Greg Taylor. Is there any further nominations? There being none, Councillor Alec Taylor duly elected. Councillors, we move on to the Kuringo Youth Development Service Management Committee. Again, we have one delegate and one alternate. So I'm seeking nominations for the delegate. Councillor Kay.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Sam Nye for that position.
Councillor Nye has been nominated. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Greg Taylor. Is there any further nominations for delegate? There being none, I declare Councillor Nye duly elected as delegate. We move on to the alternate, and I seek nominations for the alternate. Councillor Greg Taylor.
I'd like to nominate Simon Lennon, Councillor Simon Lennon.
Councillor Lennon has been nominated. Is there a seconder? Councillor Alec Taylor is seconder. Is there any further nominations? There being none, Councillor Lennon duly elected. We move on to the Hornsby Kuringai PCYC. Again, one delegate, one alternate. I call for nominations for the delegate. Councillor Ward.
Mr Mayor, I nominate Councillor Christine Kay.
Councillor Kay has been nominated. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wheatley, thank you. Is there any further nominations for delegate?
Just in relation to that committee, I sit on that committee in my own right, so I'll be refusing that. Yeah,
you'll withdraw
I'll
that?
Withdraw, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Kay. So we then move back to seeking nominations for the delegate position. Councillor Greg Taylor. Your light is on. Do you have a...
Sorry.
That's okay. It's all right. It's a learning curve. Councillor Ward.
I nominate Councillor Simon Lennon.
Councillor Lennon has been nominated. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Alex.
Mr Mayor,
yes.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you. Councillor Smith. Very quick. Thank you. Is there any further nominations? There being none, Councillor Lennon duly elected. We move on to the Eraldine Trust. Again, excuse my quickness, councillors. We look at one alternate for the PCYC and I seek nominations. Councillor Spencer.
Can I nominate myself, please? Thank you.
Indeed you can, Councillor Spencer, and I'm quite happy to second that nomination. Is there any further nominations for alternate? There being none, Councillor Spencer duly elected. Now, the Eraldine Trust. Again, one delegate, and I seek nominations.
Mr Mayor, I would like to nominate Councillor Lennon for that position.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Lennon's been nominated. Councillor Greg Taylor seconding. Is there any other further nominations? There being none, Councillor Lennon duly elected. New South Wales Public Libraries. One delegate. Seek some nominations.
I'll nominate myself if that's okay.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kay. Self-nominating. Seconded, Councillor Greg Taylor. There's no further nominations. Councillor Kay duly elected. Hornsby Kuringai Rural Fire Service, 1 delegate and 1 alternate. Seek nominations for the delegate. Councillor Kay.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Greg Taylor for that position.
Councillor Greg Taylor nominated. Seconded, Councillor Alec Taylor. Is there any further nominations? There being none, Councillor Greg Taylor duly elected. Alternate for this particular committee. Councillor Greg Taylor.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Smith.
Councillor Smith has been nominated. Is there a seconder? Councillor Wheatley, thank you very much. Is there any further nominations? There being none, Councillor Smith duly elected. Hornsby Kuringai Bush Fire Management. We have 1 delegate, 1 alternate. We'll seek nominations for the delegate. Councillor Greg Taylor.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Smith.
Councillor Smith nominated.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Greg Taylor for that.
Before we proceed, I need a seconder for Councillor Smith. Seconded, Councillor Ward. Councillor Kay.
Sorry,
That's
Councillor Greg Taylor.
okay. Councillor Greg Taylor has been nominated also. And seconded, Councillor Wheatley. We have 2 nominees. If either of the nominees wish to withdraw, please advise. Otherwise, we will hold an election for it.
Mr Mayor, I will withdraw.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. That leaving only 1 position, which is Councillor Greg Taylor, duly elected. So we're now on to the bushfire management. Yes. We need 1 alternate now. Let's move on to that. Call for nominations. Councillor Ward.
Mr Mayor, I nominate Councillor Smith.
Councillor Smith nominated. Seconded, Councillor Greg Taylor. There being no further nominations, Councillor Smith duly elected. Well done. Even before 8 o'clock. Thank you, councillors, for your indulgence in getting through all those committees. It can be hard work at times. We move on to GB6. And GB6, I second a motion for GB6. Which is filling casual vacancies within 18 months after the election date, 4th of December 2021. Councillor Lennon, you have a motion? You're back, Councillor Lennon.
No, sorry, Mr Mayor, I thought we were moving that motion.
We're moving it as
GB7.
GB6, Councillor Lennon.
I'm sorry?
We're at GB6.
Sorry, GB6. Yes, the filling of the casual vacancies. I'm sorry, Mr Mayor, I thought you were calling for movers of the motion.
That's okay. Yes, we do need a mover of a motion for GB6. If anybody is willing to move a motion, otherwise I will move a motion, councillors. And the motion is that council does not fill casual vacancies by countback, and I seek a seconder. Seconded, Councillor Spencer. Councillors, if you wish to speak on this particular motion. Councillor Spencer.
No, Mr Mayor, I was just wondering if we could just put it to a vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Spencer. There being no debate on this particular matter, I will put GB6, which is up on the screen, that council does not fill casual vacancies by countback. All those in favour? That is Councillor Greg Taylor, Councillor Ward, Councillor Christine Kay, Councillor Spencer, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Nye, Councillor Smith. Those against? Councillor Alec Taylor and Councillor Lennon. That is carried. Councillors, GB7. And I seek a motion.
Yes.
Councillor Nye.
I've got a motion which I believe I've sent to council staff. I'm not sure, are they able to bring it up on screen? Otherwise, I'll just read it out.
One moment, Councillor Nye. I believe they can put that up on the screen.
So point A.
Councillor Nye, before you start, we need a seconder.
Oh, seconder.
That's all right, Councillor Nye. I seek a seconder. Councillor Spencer seconding. Councillor Nye.
Okay, so point A, that any councillors interested in attending the special conference be held on Monday, 28th of February 2022 to Wednesday, 2nd of March 2022. Notify the General Manager by 7th February 2022. And then point B, the voting delegates in respect to the special conference to be held on Monday, 28th February 2022, and note here that there's only one 28 here, to Wednesday, 2nd of March 2022, will be the first 6 councillors who advise the General Manager after the meeting that they wish to be a voting delegate at the special conference. Point C, Council notes that on this occasion there are no proposed motions to be submitted to LGNSW. So just amending what's on the screen, on the first row of point B, I've got the number 28 repeated. So just delete one instance of that.
Thank you, Councillor Nye. And seconder, Councillor Spencer. You wish to comment?
I just want to say, Mr. Mayor, that this is what we normally do, and I would ask that this motion be put to a vote without debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spencer. I do have one question of the mover. You have advised that councillors should advise the General Manager. Can you be a little bit more specific, whether that be verbal and or in writing?
Let's make it in writing.
A number of days.
In writing by...
In writing by, I don't know when the time limit is. Let's say by the 25th of January, 2022.
That's all good. That's all good, and the second is all good with that. We've now got it in writing. Councillor Kay?
Just got a question. There might be a date where you have to apply to be a delegate and register, so I'm not sure that might be too close.
Thank you, Councillor Kay.
So you might want to check that.
I know that the motions get finalised by the end of the month, so my gut feel is 25th of January is probably fine. I can look it up now if you want the clarity.
Thank you, councillors. We've consulted with Director Marshall and the 25th is fine.
Sorry, may I suggest that we do it within 7 days? It's just a matter of sending an email. Sorry.
Well, 7 days, yes. I do, rather than worrying about dates, 7 days should be fine.
Yeah,
Councillor, are you happy with that?
I'm happy to incorporate that if the mover...
Yeah.
Thank you, Nye. If we can incorporate that to 7 days, and we'll just let council staff adjust the wording accordingly. All good. Is there any further debate? Councillor Spencer wishes that to be put. I'm quite happy for that to be put. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you very much, councillors. We move on to extra reports circulated to the meeting.
There are none, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Business without notice subject to clause 9.3 of the Code of Meeting Practice. There appears to be none. Just before I declare the meeting closed, I would like to thank council staff for their attendance, whether it be via Zoom or in person, and their assistance. I would also like to thank councillors for their attendance, whether it be via Zoom or in person. And finally, I would also like to thank the gallery, those that are here in person and those that are also online. Thank you very much. And I declare the meeting closed at 8:02 p.m. Thank you, one and all.
Well done, mate.
Hey, that's not a record though. The record was half an hour.
May they all go as smoothly as that.